Medieval Misadventures, Episode 6, Fred and the Snowstorm. It was December and Christmas was approaching quickly. Everyone was getting ready for the special holiday celebrations that were coming up, and everyone was feeling happy. Well, almost everyone. I've had enough of sitting here in the coal depot being used as a coal bunker, said Scruffy. I want my chassis back. I've been without one for long enough. But it wasn't just Scruffy who was feeling grumpy. Fred, the coal car, was not enjoying the holiday rush and stress. I can't catch a break, he said. No sooner do I get returned to the yard after being on one train when I get put on another train. Just then, Duck arrived to take some coal cars to Brenham. Come along, Fred, he said, but Fred had had enough traveling for one day. I won't go, he said as he locked his brakes on. But Duck was a strong engine, and he coupled Fred to the train and set off. Soon they were approaching the coal depot where Scruffy was. Hey trucks, whispered Fred. Let's push Duck off the bend when we get to the coal chute. So they did. The trucks gave a huge bump and Duck derailed and hit the leg of the coal hopper. It didn't break, but icicles had fallen from the top and landed on Duck. His funnel was cracked and his boiler was dented. Oh look you guys, said Fred, it's Quack Frost. The trucks giggled hysterically. Logan had been working nearby and went to fetch Harvey and Rocky. But right after he left, James came down the line with his goods train and he crashed into the back of Duck. James's truck slid forward and they smashed into the wreckage as well, and a boxcar hit the switch for the coal loader and damaged it heavily. Scruffy couldn't help laughing. Ha 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 ha. Logan soon returned with Harvey and Rocky, and they cleaned up the mess. But the coal loader was now broken and couldn't give coal to the engines anymore. So the Diesels had to fetch some coal from the coal mine at the other kingdom. But as Paxton and Norman were collecting their trucks, William pulled up with a strange-looking car. Diesels, stop what you're doing, he said. What's going on? Asked Paxton. According to this new weather tracker car, there's supposed to be a snowstorm heading towards the kingdoms. You are all to stop work and seek shelter ASAP. Seek shelter we will, said Norman. But we still need to bring coal to the steam engines, said Paxton. No time for that, said William. I can already see the storm clouds coming. The steam engines had just enough coal to go seek shelter before the snowstorm arrived. Thomas had returned Fred to the yard, and decided to stay there until the storm was over. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for making Duck crash into the coal hopper, Fred, said Thomas. You ought to be ashamed of yourself for putting me on so many trains during this time of year, said Fred. Starting now, I won't move from this spot until the snow has melted. Whatever, said Thomas. I can't help but feel sorry for Scruffy, said Rickety. He's stuck out of the coal depot and he'll be frozen in the snowstorm for sure. I heard his new chassis was ready at the works, said the spiteful brake van, but none of the steam engines can get there without their coal. I think Fred has the last bit of coal, said the ULP van. It should be enough to get to the steamworks and then to the coal depot. Thomas was now thinking about poor Scruffy. He had been in the coal depot for long enough, and he definitely didn't deserve to be there during the snowstorm. I'm going to go to the steamworks to get Scruffy's chassis and then bring it to him, said Thomas. But you'll need more coal, said the ULP van. And that's why I'm taking Fred with me, said Thomas. No way, said Fred. I told you I ain't leaving this spot until spring comes. But Fred, think about Scruffy, said Thomas. He'll be a truck frozen in ice when this is all over. You don't want to leave your leader out in the freezing cold, do you? Fred thought for a moment. Fine, but just this once. Let's get going before the storm reaches the steamworks. So Thomas and Fred pushed through the snow in the direction of the steamworks. The snow was thick and the rails were icy, but with his snowplow and Fred's large load of coal, Thomas soon reached the steamworks. Victor and Kevin had loaded Scruffy's chassis into a cargo cart. Thomas coupled to it, and he and Fred set off in the direction of the coal depot. The snowstorm was catching up fast. But before they knew it, Thomas and Fred were at the coal depot. The nearby breakdown crane put Scruffy on his new chassis. Thomas then put the two trucks in an empty shed. Then he reversed into the other shed with Logan. Thank you, Fred and Thomas, said Scruffy. I would have hated to be out in that storm. You're welcome, Scruffy, said Thomas. Yeah, you're welcome, said Fred. Promise me you won't get yourself placed somewhere without a chassis next year, because I won't do what I just did again. Sure, Fred, I'll try, said Scruffy. The storm was not as bad as everyone thought it would be. By morning, the snow had stopped. Dustin cleared the snowy tracks on the other kingdom. And soon, the diesels were able to bring more coal to the steam engines. The coal hopper was quickly repaired, and soon everything had returned to normal. It just goes to show how great the holidays can be when everyone does something to help out, said Thomas happily.